Excellent, excellent, excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you all again for being here tonight. My name is Joshua Anzaldua. I am the Associate Director for the Joint Admission Medical Program. I'm happy to be here, and I'm very happy to welcome our guest tonight, I guess our guest of the evening, Dr. Joel Robles. He's our director, the director of the Joint Admission Medical Program, or JAMP, as we know it. Dr. Robles, I don't know if you wanted to share just a little bit about you. I'll go ahead and do the same right after.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, good evening, everyone. As Josh mentioned, my name is Joel Robles. I am the director for the Joint Admission Medical Program. Very glad to be here with you today. A little bit about my background that you might find interesting. I've been with JAMP since 2016, actually. So definitely a couple of years of, well, working with JAMP students and helping them be successful. JAMP is a unique program, one that is very unique throughout the entire United States of America, in that it is a representation of collaboration and partnership for 68 undergraduate institutions and 13 medical schools. JAMP can provide you a unique opportunity to become a physician. So I encourage you to, well, listen to what we have to say. Certainly ask questions, as I'm sure Josh will let you know. We're here to help you be successful on that journey. So welcome, Josh.
Yes, that was lovely, Joel. Dr. Robles, I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
That's Joel's
I
fine.
know, I know a lot of us are a little curious about JAMP and who we are. In our previous application workshop, we did kind of unpack that briefly at the very beginning. But as we go through the presentation tonight, I'll share a resource that'll direct you to that YouTube link later. But we'll get there. But I will share a little bit about me, and I would love to get to know a little bit about y'all as we continue this conversation. So again, my name is Joshua Anzaldua. I'm a native San Antonian, born and raised in San Antonio. Went to Texas A&M College Station for my undergrad, got my Master of Social Work degree at the University of Houston, and right now I'm a doctoral candidate at UTSA. So it's been quite an educational journey, and I know for many of y'all, y'all are on the same pathway. So welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Let's go ahead and get started. I don't have I had a presentation, but I felt like last time the presentation was kind of too structured. I was hoping that this would be more like a dialogue, a conversation, an exchange of ideas. So as we continue this conversation, I do want to share some updates, right? The first, we have some updates from our JAMP office for those of y'all that are applying for the current application cycle. And I wanted to share those really quick. So let's see, we have the first one is, so we get a lot of calls from applicants asking about who their JFD is, who their JAMP faculty directors are. And we just want y'all to make sure to know that we have a list of the JFDs on our website, texasjamp.org. Under participating schools, you just find your school and you'll find your JFD as well as their email and their phone numbers. So we really encourage y'all to reach out to them. We also received feedback that of students having questions about transcripts. So college transcripts do need to be sent to JAMP, right? And they need to be official. So if you're collecting physical transcripts, they need to be in a sealed envelope and delivered directly to your JFD. Our office has also said they preferred electronic transcripts. So if your registrar or whatever source you're retrieving transcripts from, if they want to send them electronically, they would just need to send them to our info@texasjamp email address. What else? Uploading, let's see, so transcripts. Yes, so uploading documents, your JFD, your JAMP faculty director, will be the primary person to upload the documents for you on your behalf. So make sure that you're connecting with them regularly, frequently, to ensure that you're getting all the information that you need to apply for the JAMP program or for JAMP, uploaded to your application. All right. They're your biggest advocate. I've been saying this the past week. The JFDs are your biggest advocate and biggest ally in this whole process, and they'll do what they can to really help you not only succeed but submit the application. Let's see. Another question, another update is from our JAMP team is regarding high school transcripts. So if your high school wants to send them to JAMP the same way as your college, that's fine. So if they want to send them electronically, make sure it's sent to info@texasjamp.org or .org. Make sure to send it to our info@texasjamp email address. It's and also on our website as well. And as well as if it's a paper transcript, make sure it's sealed. Okay, those are the, I guess, the initial or the primary updates that we wanted to share before we get into the conversation. I don't know how many of y'all attended the first application workshop back at the end of August, but that workshop was designed using y'all's questions. So in the registration form that y'all completed, there is a space for student questions, right? So if you had any questions about the application, that's what we would have discussed, right? So we kind of structured it in that way. For those of you that are joining us now, we kind of did the same thing, but we're putting your questions for this specific workshop, for those that are attending this specific workshop, front and center. So we're going to go ahead and bring those to the light. We're going to bring them to the light. But before that, as Dr. Robles knows, I really like to get to know who I'm talking with, right? Where we're calling from or where we're joining from. I don't know if you'll follow us on social media, but we are currently in the middle of a what we're calling the 2022 JAMP Fall Tour. So if you're following us, you'll see photos of Dr. Robles and I, touring the state, different universities across the state of Texas, taking photos with, with students, with different different symbols on campus, whatever that may look like to highlight that stop, what we're calling a tour stop. So in the spirit of, if you think of the JAMP Fall Tour, think of your favorite band, going on tour, right? We have this graphic that's all on our social media pages. It has our tour dates and our locations that we're visiting, the other cities, the regions that we're visiting. So think of your favorite band on tour, right? So in the spirit of the JAMP Fall Tour, I would like to ask y'all, if you want to type in the chat, what is your song of the summer, right? So I'll give y'all maybe a 30, 45 seconds to kind of, mention what was your song of the summer. I can definitely share that I didn't have a song. I really had an album of the summer, and it was a Dance Gavin Dance album. They just released a new album in July, and that's been on repeat. And then for those of y'all that have been on the tour may have heard that response, but it's definitely a great album. Let's see, is the chat. Oh, you know what? Hope the chat is enabled. Wildest Dreams. Oh my gosh. Taylor Swift. Riptide. Best part. Daniel Caesar. Y'all, on this tour, I've met with over 150 students. And a lot of students said that Taylor Swift, a Taylor Swift song has been one of their favorite songs of the summer, and Bad Bunny. Very nice, y'all. This is awesome. Yes, definitely Taylor Swift and Bad Bunny have been probably the two popular artists this summer for sure. Fea, the album by Fea. Awesome. I've never heard of that, Dr. Robles, but thanks for
It's a great one.
awesome. Very awesome. Vance Joy. I've never heard of Vance Joy either. Wow. Well, this is great. This is great, y'all. This is we're gonna have to add these to our JAMP playlist soon. So thank y'all for sharing. I really appreciate it. Just to kind of get everyone kind of engaged. This is what I really like to do when I start these kinds of conversations. But yeah, so moving forward, if you aren't following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, go ahead and follow us. Our handle is Texas JAMP. So we're pretty easy to find. You'll find our logo. Yeah, just click that follow and check out what our tour, what we've been up to on this tour. It's been a very exciting experience. So for those of y'all that are here, I'm going to send y'all a QR code. And in the QR code is it's kind of like a running list of resources that will help anyone that is interested in learning more about JAMP, or anyone that is currently in the application process. So I'll be sending that to y'all shortly after this Zoom conversation, so that way y'all can have it, save it as a favorite, whatever you need to do. But yeah, any kind of resource that I referenced tonight will also be on that QR code, on that running list. I have already included the link, the YouTube link to the first application workshop. Right now we have over 127 views. So, feel free to share it with your friends that are also applying, or anyone else you may know. But yeah, that'll also be on the list as well. So as we continue, I do want to kind of remind everyone of a few things. The first thing is our timeline, right? The deadlines that are coming up. So as most of y'all may already know, the application for entry year 2023 into JAMP opened earlier this year in May. So the deadline, as y'all know or well aware, is the end of this month. So it's September 30th. So you'll need to submit your application by that day. Dr. Robles, is it 5 p.m.? Is that what we said? Can't quite.
Correct. It is 5 p.m. Central Time. And we always like to specify Central Time since we have a wonderful part of our state that is in Mountain Time.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. So y'all heard it. So September 30th by 5 p.m. you definitely want to get your application submitted. So from then until October 14th, that's when our JFDs are really hard at work. Our JAMP faculty directors are really hard at work at uploading any kind of remaining supporting documents, right? In our first workshop, we covered what they are. So again, after this presentation, I'll forward y'all the QR code, and there will be a link to the YouTube on the list, as well as all the other resources and a list of supporting docs that you'll need to finish your application. But most of y'all, if you're at this point in the application process, you may already know what you need to do. So yes, we do have another update that I wanted to share. So for those of y'all that are still need to take the SAT, right? Your JFDs got news, and if you have an application in progress, you also received this information. But if you registered for the October 1st SAT, we will accept your score after October 14th. So you'll need to, score reports are expected to be released by the College Board October 14th. That's also the same day as our supporting documents deadline. So, but it's okay. So as soon as that score report drops, forward it to your JFD, and your JFD will upload it for you. But you might be asking, Mr. A, that October 14th is after the application. Do I wait to submit my application? No, still submit your application by September 30th, by 5 p.m. as we mentioned. But in the SAT section where you manually type your scores, you would enter the number 0 for them. That will give us, as you submit your application, that'll be our indication of, hey, okay, the student has zeros. They've registered to take the October 1st SAT. So, so we'll know to look out for your score report. When your JFD uploads your document, your score report, our office will automatically update your SAT scores for you. All right. Let's see. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that we really wanted to target y'all's questions that y'all brought up, not only from the last workshop, but also questions we've gathered from applicants on our JAMP tour, as well as questions y'all asked in your registration pages. So the first question that we've been asked was is regarding the third essay, if it's optional. So for a lot of opportunities, right, they ask for optional essays. In my experiences as a college advisor, I always encourage students to write them. In this situation, I definitely want to take advantage of the opportunity to say something about you, right, related to the topic that maybe the council, the JAMP Council may not know based off of just your application alone, right? So I highly encourage you to write that third essay, and again, share something that you feel is relevant to you as an applicant, as well as to your whole entire application. So to answer that question, that is my best response to that. I don't know if Dr. Robles had anything to add, or if that's okay.
Sure, happy to weigh in a little bit. So if you consider the application, it is your chance to tell JAMP, and specifically the JAMP Council, about you. And in that entire thing, well, you should, or you would be well advised anyways, to take advantage of the opportunity to do so. If you were looking for more of a technical answer, on page 30 of our application handbook, we do note that it is an optional essay, but it is one that is highly encouraged. So if you are seeking more advice about that, certainly talking with your advisor is a good way to go about this. But yeah, that is something that you really need to consider, that it is an opportunity to tell the council about who you are.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Robles, for sharing that. Yes, that is very important. I'm going to go ahead and drop a link to the JAMP application handbook, just so y'all can have quick access to it. But if you miss this link, it's okay, because the QR code that I'll send y'all after the meeting will have a link to this information, to the handbook. So no worries. So yes, that was a great question, and we definitely wanted to address it here. Another question we had was, what if we didn't take the SAT or ACT? So JAMP still requires students to submit a set of SAT or ACT scores. What a lot of our students are doing now is they've registered to take that October 1st SAT that I mentioned. So I believe the late registration deadline is coming up soon. So if you're seriously interested in applying for JAMP for this application cycle, but have not taken the SAT, yeah, you definitely want to register for that as soon as possible, and sit for it on October 1st. And then, like I said earlier, send us your scores when they are available. Y'all are asking some good questions. If y'all may go ahead and hold on to them, we'll have time in the end to answer any kind of questions directly from y'all. We just want to knock out the newer questions that we received. Let's see. Okay, another question, right? Can I apply if I plan to graduate before my JAMP cohort? What do I do in the meantime? In that time frame. So I would invite Dr. Robles to share some insight on if this is a possibility for students and what that might look like.
Yes, is the direct answer. If you can apply before, or if you can apply if you are planning to graduate earlier than what a traditional JAMP cohort is planned to do. The answer is yes, you can apply. In terms of, well, what should I do if I graduate early? Certainly, we do have some advice for you at that point when you get there. So my best advice to you at this moment anyways is apply for the program. If you are accepted, work with your JAMP faculty director, who's going to tell you something like, well, you need to stay academically engaged. We will discuss what that means, as well as how to accomplish that. But know this, ultimately, yes, apply, and then know that you have somebody in your corner to help you navigate that, if that is your scenario.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Robles. That was an excellent response. I appreciate that. So on to the next question. What happens if I took a gap year after graduating high school? Is there an appeal process? And I might also, at least the next 4 questions, probably just hand them over to Dr. Robles.
Within our program criteria and guidelines for students, we do state that a student must be, and I will read directly of what it says, entrance to an institution of higher education must be not later than the first fall semester following graduation from high school or a homeschooled program. As far as exceptions, which is what this question is actually asking, exception to this criteria may be granted on a case-by-case basis for unusual circumstances, such as individuals who enter the armed services immediately upon graduation from high school. So if you have an unusual circumstance, what I would recommend is you give our office a call and talk with us about what that process, or excuse me, what that situation is, so we can guide you in that scenario.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Robles. You are the man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Our next question is regarding chemistry 1. So we had this question come up during our JAMP fall tour. And the question is, can I take chemistry 1 in the fall semester at a community college while still enrolled at my university? So the context behind this is we have some students that weren't able to register for chemistry 1 at their university. And so they're asking if they can take it in the fall semester while they are also enrolled at their university. Oh, at a community college. Dr. Robles, I'm
Okay.
summoning your
I
assistance.
wasn't sure if you wanted me to answer that one or not.
Yes,
My apologies.
please. No, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you so much.
So this question is really an advising question. So I will couch my response to this question by stating this. What the JAMP office does not do is we do not provide academic advice to students. What we can do, however, is ask questions or answer questions as it relates to the JAMP application. So for our purposes of this conversation, the JAMP application does require that you have completed Chemistry 1 and Chemistry 2 with associated labs with no less than a grade of C or better. JAMP does not specify where you get those college credits from. We just require that you take it. So can you then take it at a community college? Well, once again, JAMP doesn't specify where you have to take those credits. However, you would be well advised to meet with an academic advisor to make sure that you can have credits transfer or that they're applicable to your degree, that they are the appropriate rigor, or that they teach specifically what you need to do for your degree. And those, unfortunately, are things I cannot answer for you, nor could anyone from the JAMP office. Suffice to say, this is what our application criteria require. Chemistry 1, Chemistry 2, associated labs for both with a grade of C or better prior to the application deadline. So I hope that helps.
100%. That was excellent, Dr. Robles. Thank you for that. A student asked, I believe this was a question that wasn't addressed at the first workshop. And the question was, what if our EFC is above? So what if our expected family contribution, our EFC, is above 8,000 one year, but in the next student aid report, it's below 8,000? I might have a response to this, but I don't want to share the wrong information. So again, I would like to ask Dr. Robles for his help on this one.
Josh, perhaps we need to have been in the same location with a fireplace and a couple of comfy couches. Certainly made it like a fireside chat, right?
Yes.
So to answer this question, which is if I have above an EFC for one financial aid year, but below the next, or vice versa. So in other words, one of the 2 years, my EFC is below 8,000. Can I apply? Well, let me answer this question 2 ways. Can you apply? The answer is yes, anyone can apply to the program. But the question you're actually asking here is this: do I meet the application criteria, which state that we are looking for a measure of economic disadvantage, which is defined as a EFC, expected family contribution, of 8,000 or below? So answering that question, if you have one EFC that is below 8,000, but for some reason the other year is above 8,000, that is okay, because what we state is that we are looking for an EFC of 8,000 or below. Still, you would be well served in the application itself to fully answer the question that asks, why do you consider yourself socioeconomically disadvantaged? Because of what JAMP is, which is an assured admissions program as a workforce pipeline program to help socioeconomically disadvantaged students, those are the students that we are targeting to help. So once again, I hope that helps.
It very much does, Dr. Robles. You are amazing. You're on fire tonight. Again, a lot of these questions are questions that are very, are nuanced sometimes, and it's hard to kind of deliver a very good answer. But you are, your experience with JAMP is definitely the highlight of tonight. So thank you again. The last question that we want to bring to the center is regarding students who may not be regarding student residency. So this question was asked by a student on our tour. What if a student becomes a permanent resident before they graduate college? Can they apply? I know, again, I would invite Dr. Robles for this last one.
Sure. So 2 different questions, just one more time. Can you apply? The answer is yes, you can apply. Now, once again, the real question you're asking here is, for this student anyways, the real question that they are asking, is, do I meet the application criteria? So let's consider our application criteria then. We have a few, at least 1 or 2 criteria, but one of them states that an applicant must be an American citizen or permanent resident. So when you submit your application, that is what we are going to be looking at. Are you a US citizen or are you a permanent resident? If the answer to those questions or to that question is no to both, then it does not sound, or you will not meet the application criteria itself. So I hope that helps.
It sure does. Thank you, Dr. Robles, for sharing that information with us. Very, very important. So those were I guess, the most common questions that we received since our last application workshop, y'all. Right now is kind of the time for us to kind of open it up to everyone that are in attendance tonight. So any questions you have, I'll see as they come in. I know some of y'all are messaging me directly, which is completely fine. I understand. So I'm going to kind of, browse, take a look. We don't have very many. So one question is asking, what was that? Is it okay to add certificates of completion from my virtual shadowing experience? I want to know if it would count under certificate of completion. That's a very good question. I have a general answer, but as regarding the application itself, that might be something Dr. Robles would be better to answer. But I think, this question is kind of similar to a lot of what students have been asking. Is this experience, relevant, right? Should I include this experience? There is a lot of value in experiences that we may not see initially, right? So if you have any kind of training or certifications, you definitely want to add that, right? To piggyback off of that, we had another student on the tour that asked about their work experience. When they were in high school, they worked, after high school, right? So it kind of impacted their ability to participate in other things. If you wanted to write about that, it could be something like, you would want to make sure it's related to the application and who you are, right? So what in that X experience, whatever it may be, like what skills did you gain from that, right? What kind of experience did you gain? How is it related to your ultimate career in medicine, right? If I was writing this, I would say something like, well, yeah, I learned how to, work in a team. I learned how to, effective communication, critical thinking, working on my feet, things like that, right? So I think that kind of experience is definitely valuable, and you don't want to leave it out. Definitely include whatever you can. But for as far as the the exact question, to whether you should add certificates to completion, Dr. Robles, do you have any advice on how to maybe include that, or where a student might add that, especially if it was a virtual shadowing experience?
I would have to get a little bit more information about that to really provide a good answer. And here's the reason why I state that. When I hear the word certificate, the way my mind works is I wonder, are you talking a college course or something along those lines? But then I hear this is for shadowing experiences. So it actually sounds like it's a healthcare activity. So if it is a healthcare activity, you should list that in the healthcare activities section, but it would not be necessary to upload a certificate of completion then for those items themselves. Our application does not actually allow, or does not have the space anyways, to upload that kind of extra stuff. We would just ask you to be, well, direct, truthful, and honest, which of course you are, to put that information accurately within the healthcare activities section. But if somebody is asking for something that's a little bit different, I would just like to get some more information about what that exact experience is to really fully answer it.
Excellent, excellent. And would a student be able to call us, or maybe shoot us an email to info at Texas JAMP, and just put as many details as they can about that experience? Would that be a good strategy?
Yes, it's always okay to call us. We're always happy to help.
Excellent.
However, if you have a very detailed conversation, even setting an appointment is also okay as well. So we can really sit down and spend some time. But of course, just because you don't have an appointment does not preclude you from calling us. We're here to help, for goodness sakes.
Mhm. Dr. Robles, thank you so much. We have another question. Is the deadline for letters of reference also on September 30th? So I think you were referring to the evaluation letters from your JFD, one from your JFD and one from your faculty at your institution. So the deadline for those is October 14th. That's considered a supporting document. So you would want to make sure, well, you're working closely with your JFD. Your JFD will ensure that they upload, their letter, their evaluation letter, as well as your faculty's evaluation letter. So that deadline is October 14th. The application itself is due on the 30th, right? But all the supporting documents are due on October 14th. That was a great question. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Oh, this is regarding what happens after the application. So selected for an interview for JAMP, how does that work? Like, who do we interview with? I know decisions or interview invitations will be sent in December. Is that correct, Dr. Robles?
The decisions for interview?
I'm sorry, the invitations. Did I say decision? My bad. I meant.
I may have misheard. Certainly, when you only have one earpiece, sometimes things get a little garbled sometimes. But yes, in December is generally when students will have an idea whether or not they're going to be invited for an interview for the program.
Excellent, excellent. And from there, interviews would take place in January, and then decisions would be sent out to students in February. So regarding this question specifically, how does that work, right? So there are two 30-minute interviews. Now, the question of who do we interview with, that is a question that I think Dr. Robles would be able to address.
Sure. So the application process itself, after the applications are completed, they are ultimately reviewed by the JAMP Council. The JAMP Council specifically, decides who to invite for an interview. And then in the month of January, those interviews occur. These interviews will be done virtually in January 2023. Now, who do you interview with? Well, you actually interview with folks from the JAMP medical schools that are part of our program. And you may generally will be interviewing with folks who are associated with the overall process of, well, admissions into the medical school itself. So what does that mean? Well, what that means specifically is you may interview with a dean, you may interview with faculty, you might interview with a medical school student, you might interview with a number of people. We can't tell you exactly who you will interview with, but you will be interviewed, and there are 2 of them.
Excellent. That is amazing knowledge to share. Thank you so much, Dr. Robles, for that. We have another question here regarding high school transcripts. If a student attended multiple high schools, do they need to send a transcript from all of them or just the one they graduated from? That's a good question. And if I might invite Dr. Robles back out.
So what was the question one more time?
If a student attended multiple high schools, so if they transferred, would they need to send a transcript from each of those schools, or each of those high schools, or just the one high school that they graduated from?
I would state that the the high school that they graduated from, because when they actually complete the education section within the application itself, what we actually ask for is the high school itself. And there is a section in there where we ask how they completed their high school education, as well as when they've graduated from. Typically, anyways, the application itself is one that, and excuse me, my email's blowing up at the same time. Looks like I have gotten a few phone appointments just now from folks who are in the audience. Anyways, typically, that is one of those situations where because they've attended other high schools, those high school information will be on their final high school transcript itself. Where we need multiple transcripts from locations are in situations where they've taken, well, college courses itself.
Excellent, excellent. I can definitely see that the importance of asking that question. So that was a great question, y'all. Thank you for asking, and thank you again, Dr. Robles, for helping out with that one. Another student is asking about a pharmacy technician course. They receive, oh wow, 500 credit hours from a pharmacy tech course. 500 credit hours, or we might need more information on that. And they're just curious how they would add that experience in the application. The person that asked about the pharmacy tech course, I would probably encourage you to call us or send us an email directly. I think we'll definitely need more information on that one. So you'll have to pin that. Just reach out to us. We have a question. This question is more about the tour. Are y'all stopping in College Station by any chance? This is the first time we've done this kind of program. So right now we've visited a total of, I believe, 14 schools. 14 schools as of today. So it's been a journey. But College Station, unfortunately, it was not on the list this year. But hopefully next year we'll see what. Not making any promises, but we'll see what happens as time passes. But that's a good question. I'm an Aggie, so it's I thought that was a good question. Thank you for asking though. You're also welcome to follow us on social media, and tag along. Let's see, we have 2 more questions here. Oh, do we include courses we dropped on the application? I have a response, but I'm not sure it's entirely accurate. But Dr. Robles, if you may correct me if I'm wrong, I might say you want to add whatever's on your transcript, make sure it's reflected on your application. So if there's a Q drop, you may want to indicate that. So that way when we look at your application, we check for accuracy. Does that sound accurate, Dr. Robles, or is there a specific way that students should add dropped courses on
If it is reflected on the transcript, it should be reflected in the application.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. Let's see. How long we have transcripts that are received via mail? How long do they take usually to get processed? I don't have a timeline for that, but I think Dr. Robles may be more familiar with kind of the time it takes for transcripts to be processed.
So as expeditiously as possible is probably the best answer I can give you for that itself. If you are concerned about whether or not we have received your transcript, certainly we can have some dialogue about that. But we are looking for everything to be, fully uploaded and submitted prior to the application, or excuse me, at least by the supporting documents deadline.
Excellent. So we have another question. Is there a way to see or access the essay prompts before finishing all the application questions? Or is it required that all questions are answered before being able to see the prompts? So on our JAMP application handbook, we have the prompts there. Let me see. I'm gonna share the link to the handbook as well, just so you'll have access to it. Definitely use that. Use that as a huge resource. There's gonna be information on there that we just weren't able to cover in any one of these workshops, but it's an excellent resource. So you definitely want to have that by you as you complete your application. But to answer the question, the essay topics are in the handbook. That's a very good question. Thank you. Thank you for asking. And it looks like another question is, can we add video games as an extracurricular? That's a valid question, right? Especially knowing that there are student organizations now that are based or founded on the gaming experience, things like that. That's a valid question. But if I may pass this on to Dr. Robles, can students add video games or maybe student organizations regarding video gaming? Can they add that as an extracurricular?
Forgive me, I was trying to find my unmute button. So what we state in our application handbook is that significant extracurricular leisure activities or hobbies you have participated in since high school to October 2022 are things that you can add. So can you? The answer is sure. Yeah.
All right, that is a new one. That is a new question for me. That's for sure. So, Dr. Robles, you were excellent. Thank you so much for answering that question. Let's see. Okay. So this is referring back to the interviews. When will we be notified for an interview in December? Oh, are we notified if we are not invited for an interview? That's a new one for me as well. I'm going to invite Dr. Robles again to venture out.
You will be notified if you are not selected for the program.
Okay. Well, there we go. Any other questions that y'all have? And again, if your questions aren't answered today, you're more than welcome to give us a call or send us an email. But definitely reach out to your JFD first, your JAMP faculty director, and see if they have any insight or any knowledge of your questions that you have. And then, of course, reach out to us as well. Oh, that's the good question. Do we have to submit transcripts from the current semester? So I'm assuming you're referring to this fall semester. Of course, for submitting a transcript that has your fall semester courses listed, but they may not have grades yet, right? Because you're still taking them. I believe so. I believe that's the transcript that we're requesting. Dr. Robles, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Apologies, Josh. I'm chatting with one of our folks here as
No worries,
well.
no worries.
So forgive me here. This is what I get for trying to multitask. What
No,
is
you're
the
fine.
question?
So the question was, so if a student's applying for the current cycle and they have coursework in progress this fall, does their transcript need to reflect the in-progress coursework?
It would. So yeah, typically transcripts will show coursework that you are currently enrolled in, unless maybe there is something that has changed, but certainly a possibility.
I'm thinking maybe a student might have an official transcript from the end of the summer, maybe, and that's official, but it doesn't indicate any kind of or maybe the end of spring semester, but it doesn't indicate any, fall coursework. Yes, but the answer to that question is yes. Make sure that it has your fall courses listed on there, even if they're, you don't have any grades for them yet.
If for some reason a student's institution does not do that, I mean, that's fine. But generally speaking, I would say, in my experience anyways, that most colleges do report in progress coursework on transcripts. But once again, if it doesn't for whatever reason, and that is your institutional policy, then, well, obviously if it doesn't exist, well, it doesn't exist.
Excellent. So do we have any other questions? We have about 7 minutes or so left. This is y'all's time to really ask any kind of application questions you have. I will, for those of y'all that may have showed up late, I'll say this once more. I'll send y'all a QR code that has a running list of just different resources that students have either asked questions about or that will be useful, including the link to the first application workshop that took place a couple weeks ago. But it's also available to the public on YouTube. If you go to the TXHES YouTube channel, the video will be there. It's 1 hour long, but it's so good. So definitely visit that. There are some questions that you'll find there that we may not have addressed here, but just know that that's available for you as an additional resource. Okay, we have 3 questions that came through. Perfect. Oh, how should the student aid report be formatted? The FAFSA homepage is giving me an itemized report of about 12 pages. Is that how JAMP wants it to be? That sounds about right. The student aid report is is about that length. So it's essentially a summary of everything you typed into your FAFSA application. So yes, if it's saving as 12 pages, that's typically the length of a student aid report. In the QR code, there is I'm also sharing a link up to how to download a student aid report, and it's directly from the studentaid.gov website. So you definitely check that out. I'll send it to everyone that registered for tonight's workshop. But yeah, that's a really good question. But yes, that sounds accurate. So save it as a PDF and send that to your JFD as soon as possible. They will double check and make sure that it is what you need. Oh, this is a good question. Where do we submit a picture of our permanent resident card or green card? Dr. Robles, if you may assist with this one, I will be so thankful.
It's part of your supporting documents that you actually do. So you should be able to upload that within the application itself.
Okay, and with the student, okay.
If a student has a question, since I myself am the one who typically reviews that information, get in contact with me, send an email to info@texasjamp.org, give me your application ID, as well as your situation, and we can certainly work through that.
Excellent. I'm adding our email address to the chat, y'all. So if you may want to copy and paste it, save it somewhere, so that way we can get your answer or we can get answers to your questions. Let's see. That is a good question, y'all. Thank you for asking. Oh, if a student submitted or uploaded a transcript that doesn't have fall courses, I see now. Do we have to resubmit an official transcript that does have their fall coursework listed? That's a good question. That's a very good question, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'm going to invite Dr. Robles once more. if a student submitted a transcript, uploaded a transcript, or submitted a transcript that doesn't have fall courses, would they need to resubmit a transcript that does have fall courses?
I'd like to see what the a student has uploaded first before answering that question.
Excellent.
So just give us a call during normal business hours and let's review it.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Robles. So there's your answer. So any last minute questions? We only have 2 minutes left. Before we end the conversation. Just know that if there are any questions that were shared in the chat or that weren't included in the beginning portion of this conversation, we'll definitely do our best to include it in our final app workshop next week, actually, next Wednesday. So if you know anyone else that wants to participate in the workshop, send them, we posted a reminder today on our social media pages. So just tell them to scan the QR code and register, and then they'll get the invitation next week, right before the workshop starts. Okay. All right. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions. I'm going to stop recording. Thank all of y'all for participating tonight.